We thought that this was our last episode, but it's not. So
We got really...
you're going to hear more.
I got suddenly sad because producer Michael told me it was episode 10. And normally a season is over after 10 episodes.
Right.
But
we split a normal episode into 2 per week.
we do 2 episodes per week.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have 20 episodes
This season.
in season 4.
Yeah. So you're in the middle.
In the midst of season 4.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to talk about advice that seems helpful and smart, and maybe it's true, and maybe it's good, but just didn't work for us.
Yeah.
And
You probably, if you're listening, have gotten advice, unsolicited advice, or advice that actually would help you if that was the way you wanted to go.
right, yeah. So sometimes you get advice that's good, and then the other way you can get advice is it not be good. And there's kind of those are the 2 ways it goes.
True. Good advice or bad
Right.
advice.
I'm pretty good at giving advice
Mm-hmm.
because I was born with, well, all men are born with the ability to do mansplaining, which is a cool thing that
True.
we've evolved over time to be able to just explain everything.
Yeah.
All
Give
the
advice
time.
when we don't need
Yeah.
it.
And
It's fun.
It starts with listening to somebody say something,
Mm-hmm.
and then you say, well, actually. And then you might even just repeat what they said,
Yeah.
but in your own terms.
Yeah.
And then that's you mansplain
Wow.
that person.
I feel like I kind of got like 101 version.
Did you
class. I think I just.
got mansplained.
I think you just mansplained mansplaining.
Thank you. It is very difficult, and I've practiced it, and thank you.
You're welcome. What's the worst advice you've ever gotten?
The worst
like, ever.
Oh, the worst advice I ever was given. Well,
Try to be in the NBA. Did anyone
nobody
tell you
was telling me. Nobody. I was telling myself to try and be in the NBA
No
for
one else told you
longer
to.
than
Got it.
I should have.
Yeah.
But
It's a hard question.
there are
isn't
some
it?
people. There's a day in your life where you broke up with me. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Good. 'Cause I try not to let you forget. This was a while ago.
It was like 2 weeks ago. Get over it.
Things are over. It's like we're over it.
Yeah,
you know?
we're over it.
There's a number of people who were older and wiser than me who
Were they though?
told me they were older than me, who told me I should probably just avoid you. And
You
just
should have.
not get, yeah. Can you imagine where my life would be?
I have an idea. We can record that on another episode.
We could do one episode where you and I just explain what we think the other person's life would be like
Yeah.
if we didn't exist.
Yeah, that sounds good. That's a little BTS for you.
A little bit.
Or a problem.
Okay, so let's talk about advice that we're given, but it just doesn't work for us.
Got it.
And so you and I have kind of brainstormed this a little bit, things that we hear said to creative people or business owners or whatever that we tried to live up to or try to get into, but it just didn't work for us.
Yeah.
So your first one is?
My first one is that a lot of people who are smart and wise end up just defaulting to telling us to charge more,
Right.
but they don't realize that that means we'd have to change the kind of people that we work with.
Correct.
So they're like, you should be charging $25,000 for a website. And it's like, that's fine advice if we want to work with the kind of people who pay that much
Definitely.
for a website.
Right.
So that advice, while I do think isn't bad advice, it's not good advice for us.
I see people who kind of look at you and I, or not even you and I, but the Wonder Jam, and they see a potential to do certain things. But part of why we did this is because we see things that we could do
Yeah,
that aren't always the same as what strangers
for sure.
see as opportunities for us.
Yep.
Yeah, so working with a lot larger budgets, my first one is about budgeting.
Okay.
It's budgeting.
People told you to budget.
Yeah, so for a long time, as we were trying to figure out our finances and how we handle everything personally, professionally, all of those things.
Yeah.
There's always people telling you to make a budget, stick to it, cut down, all of these things. And it wasn't until I just wholeheartedly let go of that and didn't try to budget anything, and focused on something else, things started to make sense and work in our favor. And so I think we like accidentally budget probably.
Got it.
But it was focusing on that was
the wrong starting
not
point.
useful. And you and I, and probably a lot of entrepreneurs or creative people, if you're given like a box that you have to live inside of,
you're not gonna live
your
in it.
body just is going to convulse and you're going to throw up.
Yep. Pukes.
And a budgeting conversation is never fun.
No, right.
It's not fun for us. Maybe it's fun for somebody else.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
not fun.
Number 2.
The second thing.
It was a thing that a business coach once told us to do.
Oh, yeah. See, I came up with my answers and then I forgot them.
I remembered everything you've ever said.
Thank you.
I'm obsessed.
Thank you. We were told many years ago to focus on video content, like more formal, like sit down, film, talk about, like kind of like lecture.
Yeah.
And that was not good advice.
Right.
We realized it for ourselves. We were like, we don't like this. Like, we like podcasting way more. If we do film, video, I think we like vlogging.
Film. Our vlogs are like film.
It is. It's going to be at Sundance next year.
Yeah.
Our vlogs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can get on YouTube at Sundance and look at our vlogs.
Yeah. Just start playing it.
Sundance is not asking for us to play any of our things.
No, they never will. But I think just getting that advice might have worked. And I see a lot of business coaches that just are like, every business gets the same advice. And I think that that's really dumb.
Yeah. It's very repeatable.
Yes.
And it's very, if you're selling a coaching packages, it's easy to be like, oh, I'm going to give you these 12 steps and this is what we're going to go through. And then at the end, it's going to be done. But
I remember like
humans don't work that way. Sometimes it takes you a long time to learn something.
Yeah.
Or it takes me a short time to learn something. Or like you are like weirdly talented at focusing.
Yeah.
And so you can work on some other
something
stuff.
else.
You know?
I remember you like 5 years ago came downstairs and you were like, you need to get good at public speaking.
Yeah.
Like you need to like focus on that. And I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So that might work for people who own a business in some,
I think
some category.
Yeah. People, I think often there's a lot of good advice about a specific tactic or thing you can do that will make new opportunities happen. Mm-hmm. And so I think if you look at your future and you're like, what do I want to have happen? Well, then start doing that thing that creates those opportunities. But people don't often know what you want to have happen later, or how you want things to operate. Yeah.
That's good. What about your second one?
My second one has been, and I'm a little inspired by you on this, but the use of hashtags on social media accounts.
Yeah, I don't do that.
I don't either.
Are we anti-hashtag?
Yeah, for sure. I have watched, personally, I think it's good advice for other people to take.
Yeah.
I've watched and sat through, and we've held in our own space, social media workshops, collaborating with other people who are very smart.
Yep.
And they explain how to use hashtags to gain followers and reach a new audience and all of those things that are very powerful, good, impressive. It almost makes me want to do it, but
yeah, we just
I have never, and I'm going to say never off the top of my head, but when I see someone post something on Instagram and there's a bunch of hashtags loaded in it, I feel like that post was not for me. It was for the robots to take and for strangers to see and comment on.
But it's not like a personal comment or like message.
Right.
Yeah.
At the same time, not everyone is trying to talk to me, and maybe they're trying to talk to the people hanging out on a different hashtag.
For sure.
So it's probably good advice.
I would go even further and say I don't feel like it's the person. Like, I might know someone who posts something with like tons of hashtags, and I know that they actually wrote it, but it doesn't feel like the person that I connect with one-on-one. It feels like their goal is elsewhere.
Right.
It's like if you were talking to someone and they're the goal of talking to you was that they hope other people overhear your conversation,
Right.
it would be weird.
Yeah.
That's just us, though.
That's true. That's my second one. Hashtags.
That's really good.
And that's advice that I would, if everyone in the world was like, you're an idiot, you could have 10 times as big of an account, I still wouldn't do it. And I would happily tell everyone in the world to use hashtags.
Yeah, for sure. It's not a judgmental thing or like it doesn't work. It's just a preference. It doesn't work for us.
Definitely.
Yep.
Doesn't work for us. And also the pound sign on my keyboard's broke, so I can't do it anyways. I'm just kidding. That's not true.
Oh, I was like, is it?
Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah.
If I like made a whole like soapbox, I'm like, actually my computer's just broke.
Right.
No.
The other thing that we've been advised to do often is...
And it seems smart.
It does. Is to rent our space out.
Right.
So 2 episodes ago, we talked all about like overhead and it's not, cheap. But renting out your space is like to me, a whole nother business. It's like you need to have your space look and fly all the time. You need to have like perks, like complimentary this or,
Right.
cleaning fees, there's just all these different things that make rental spaces great.
Right.
You don't want to show up to this space renting it out for like a little bit of money and it just be like not put together for your event.
Truth.
So that was another thing.
Yeah, I find I can't tell you how many times people say that and they see an opportunity, they're like, oh, you could. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't want to. Yeah. And I do other stuff with it. Yeah.
And it's hard because...
And we've tried it in the past. I should say, it's not like we have never done it.
Yeah.
We have done it, and it has only been horrible.
Yeah. It's kind of like if you rented out your home and you're like, this is my house. Like, that's how it feels
One time we rented out our space for an event.
Yeah.
And...
I mean, I don't know why I'm asking. I know.
The back garage doors
got
left open. And...
Someone broke in.
Rowdy neighbors who live behind broke in.
Yeah.
And they grabbed markers and drew penises all over everything.
They also cracked my marble slab.
They cracked marble slab, stole my iPad and speakers.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had the lock on my iPad, like where you can lock the iPad and erase it. And I wrote a thing on there. It was like, this has been stolen. So if they tried to pawn it or whatever, I was like, this has been stolen. Call this number. And I got a notification the next night after all this happened.
Was it really?
Also, if the people who rented this are listening, we all knew we didn't have locks on the doors at that point, and the way the security system was set up, we had a lot of stupid stuff going on.
I mean, we're over
not
this.
going on anymore.
Yeah.
I was over it when it started.
Yeah.
But it was a funny thing that happened. And the next night, I get a notification on my iPhone. They're like, oh, your iPad is reconnected to Wi-Fi. And it shows up on a map.
Yeah, you can find it.
And it was right behind our office.
It was just right near it.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I wonder if someone just threw in the dumpster or what happened. So I drove around behind we live really close to our office. So I drove around behind our office and there was a bunch of people out back. And they were looking at me a lot, like they were paying attention to something. Yeah. But then I drove around front, and in front of our office was a big white trash bag, and inside of it was an iPad and the speakers that had been returned.
Buyer's remorse.
2 years later, we have another event at our space. Creative Babes were having an event.
True.
And there was a fella who lives behind here.
Yeah. He was a little drunk.
He is more than a little drunk. Oh. And he was telling me, he was also more than a little other things besides drunk.
Turned.
He was, turned was what I meant to say. I think the technical definition would be crossfaded.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he had that going on.
Yeah.
And he was telling me that it was his girlfriend, which settled a long-running debate we had about...
We always said it was either a little kid or some ladies.
Yeah.
Based on
what, Allie?
The illustrations that they put.
Their illustrations were very...
sad.
Just not... I don't even
Nobody
know how
was
to
showing
describe
off.
it.
Nobody was showing
Not
off.
even that. It just was there was no appreciation. for the subject matter. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
We scrubbed it. We painted it. It's all gone. No one gets to see it anymore.
Yeah.
I wish we took pictures.
I
Actually, no.
I
don't
did,
have
but
pictures.
I don't have.
They're in our text.
My last.
So that is why we do not rent our space out.
We just never get to tell that story.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. My
What's your
last one is we often get told to hire people a lot.
Yeah.
And we don't do that as much as we should. Or we should based on what some other people say.
Yeah.
So there's this easy math is if you get paid $100 an hour
Yeah.
and you can pay somebody else $90 an hour to do that thing, then you make money and other people just work.
Yeah.
Right? So like that's how you can just make cash. You just make a little bit off of a lot of people working for you. Seems super smart. But we don't do that. Why?
Well, if there's a couple different reasons. The first for me is the minute you build your business to depend on, like, I don't know, this is so like complex in my brain, but for me, it's like, one, I don't want to hire a bunch of people for me to do nothing and everyone else does everything.
Right.
That's like the first.
We didn't sign up to be inactive in our business.
And it's not to say that's not a bad thing. We have clients who like their goal is to very much remove themselves from the business.
Yeah.
But that's not what I want to do.
Right.
So I don't want to just like manage people and them do all the work.
Right now.
Right.
You're allowed to change in the future. If you want.
I mean, the older I get, my answer might change.
Right.
Right now I have enough energy.
As you grow up.
Yeah.
I would say the other thing is that as you remove yourself from clients and from the process and all of the conversations that we have with them, everything's becomes more difficult to really be synced up with them on creative problems.
Yeah.
We even found that when we first started having interns and we would try to protect people and say, okay, we'll just like go meet with a client, we'll listen to them, and then we'll tell you the stuff to do. And there's something that just gets lost in the nuanced bits of translation that makes
like
it
a connection.
Yeah, that would just make it difficult. We thought we were doing our interns a favor.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was the opposite, where it's doing the favor is, hey, let me like sit in the room and just like get a read.
Well,
on
think
that
of
person.
like how much less passion I have when I'm like reiterating an hour-long meeting to someone.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just like, oh yeah, they said this and this, and here are my notes. There's so much lost. So yeah.
Truth.
Yep.
So those are 6 things that are very smart, and you maybe should listen to them.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't right for us.
Wasn't right for us.
Love
Speaking of people talking about stuff, I was like, how do I transition that? We have a Diamond member who's going to share a little bit about their experience inside of the Diamond membership.
Hello?
Hey, it's producer Michael. I have a quick question for you.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, hey, I was wondering if you could introduce yourself to our listeners and then tell me a little bit about what the Diamond membership has been like for you.
My name is Jennifer Faltz, and honestly, I do a lot of things, but mostly I provide creative communication solutions for women who own small businesses. The Diamond membership is a great extension of the coaching I did with Adam in 2017. A lot of business memberships, masterminds, or networking groups are either spammy and gross or fake and rah-rah, neither of which I need in my life, which is why I typically don't join them. But the Diamond membership provides genuine encouragement, honest feedback, and authentic community. I can ask stupid questions, and people will give me answers and tell me that I'm asking stupid questions, both of which are super useful.
I loved listening to that conversation between Michael and our Diamond member.
Me too.
It's so good.
Welcome to our final segment called Isn't That Neat?
This is one of the better segments in podcasting history. It's been called that.
Yeah. It's just like really produced.
Yeah. The only reason it hasn't won an
script.
award was politics of all the nominations. And
We
all that
just
stuff.
we didn't enter.
Yeah, we were nominated, but we were like, no.
Exactly.
So I want to talk about some neat stuff.
What's neat?
My new neat thing is I just purchased a squat rack for my garage.
Yep, working out.
Our garage for working out.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was neat to have a thing that's always been in like a gym or somewhere else. Even growing up playing sports, that was like always something that was somewhere else.
Oh, no, it's like in your
and
house.
now it's like, I have that.
Yeah. I mean, it's detached from your house, and then we have a detached garage, but...
Right. It's
on our
house.
property.
I could put it in the house if I wanted.
It's on our acreage. It's funny
have
because we
acreage
have
in
a
Granville.
very, very small home.
Yeah.
That is cool. I'm glad that you get that.
Thanks.
My neat thing is I recently got a cookbook
Right.
that focuses on a cuisine that I'm not familiar with. And so I've been planning out some of my recipes, but it's been interesting to read about how they eat in Georgia, not the Georgia that is in the United States. What if I was like
Atlanta.
Yeah. No, Georgia, not in the United States. And just the different ingredients and, like spices and salts that they go back to. So.
And you've started to incorporate some of that in your at-home meal making and trying out some new stuff.
Yeah, which I like. There was like a fish recipe that has like pomegranate seeds and like cauliflower puree, and it's pretty great.
Yeah. If you're listening and you want to link to this cookbook, tweet to Allie and she'll give it to you.
Yeah, if you want to link. I don't know how to pronounce it, and I hate
I watched you talking, and I was like, I know that she's debating whether to try to say it or
I can't say
not.
It starts with a K, and the author's last name is Hercules. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but it's spelled like Hercules.
Yeah.
I'll tweet about it. Check out my tweets at AlliePal, twitter.com/AlliePal.
Is it twitter.com still? Cool.
Yeah. Is it not?
No, I was just being stupid.
Oh. I was like, did they change it? Because AmericanEagle.com is not American Eagle the store.
What is it?
It's like a website making.
Oh,
homepage.
yeah.
So.
That's one of the more that we just learned.
It blows my mind.
Yeah.
So like, what is American Eagle? Is it AE.com?
But the AmericanEagle.com is not like cool, or it's not from a company
offense,
that
guys.
seems like
Yeah.
it couldn't benefit from selling the name of that business.
You should just try to sell like clothes. You probably get sued.
Maybe they can make a ton of cash. I don't know. Maybe they get.
Do they have Google ads?
Can you imagine how much traffic they get to their site?
Yeah, but like not the kind you want.
From like a parent of a teenager trying to buy their child a clothes.
Clothes.
A cloth. Shout out to
your cousin
Caroline Conrad.
Anyways, thanks for listening to this episode. That is not the last one of the season.
It's not the last.
We'll see you
Even
next.
if you wanted it to be the last, we wouldn't let it be.
We'll see you this weekend.
Peace.